think Sean Fain and Sean O'Brien are kind of tailing that a little bit. Like, they're playing this game because they know that there is that mass discontent. And I do think that they could go further and people would rise up in support.
Our lines are open, 844-899-TVLR, 844-899-8857 if you want to call in. We've got a caller on the line already from a 510 area code. Let's go ahead and bring them into on the air and see what they've got to say. 510 area code. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, y'all. Solidarity from Oakland, California. My name's Kat, and I work at UPS. I'm a part-timer and a shop steward in Teamsters Local 70 at the airport here.
Kat from California. Welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Yeah, just following up from the conversation that just transpired. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Trump is a celebrity billionaire who has every interest to attack the economic and political gains that workers have made through struggle for decades and centuries in this country. I think we can be objective about that. At the same time, you know, like a lot of my part-time coworkers at the airport, I ask them about this stuff and they say, oh, well, the economy has gotten worse under Biden and like Trump gave us those stimulus checks. And so maybe I'll try voting for Trump again. At our local union hall, when we were talking about O'Brien meeting with Trump, a lot of the people who are active enough to show up to the local meetings were kind of taken in by this argument of like, oh, well, maybe Trump is going to be president, so we just have to play our cards right and make sure that Sean O'Brien has a seat at the table. And I know that also there's other parts of the country where a lot of workers are more actively in support of Trump in larger numbers. And I think the brother who was just on correctly identified that that's because there's a lot of lies out there in the mainstream media that cause people to think that Trump is going to be better when he's not. But overall, it speaks to the real need for actual political leadership. And if Sean O'Brien is going to these meetings under the pretext that actually the only way that we can make gains as workers is to play our cards right and to cozy up to these leaders, whoever's going to be the next president, that is misleadership. That is misleading the people. And I don't think that there's like no possible other futures that we can put on the table in front of people. Like, I really agree with what Tobias said in the chat that we need unions to form a national political party. I think we could even go beyond that. Like, I think that there's a need for us who are militants in the union to start organizing around building a labor party in this country. And I think that putting forward like that kind of possibility in front of people, that we don't have to just keep ping-ponging back and forth between these two parties that are controlled by the ruling class and are never going to act in our long-term or often even our short-term interests, is like the only way forward. I think that we can do better than that, and that people will get behind it if there's an organized group of leaders, especially from the grassroots, working people who are involved in their unions, who can strategize amongst ourselves, put forward a compelling program, and show up to fight for it. Like, I don't think we should see that as like pie in the sky. And if Sean O'Brien isn't there to take the lead on that kind of thing, then we can do it ourselves. But, you know, he's in a position of power to where if he, you know, spoke up and said, hey, Trump's going to be president and that's not going to be in our best interest, and we need to take a stand and like not just donate money to like the RNC, people would listen to him, you know, but he chose not to use that platform. And I think that speaks volumes, honestly. So
Yeah, I
That's what I got to say.
Thank you so
I
much
appreciate
for
it,
calling in, and yeah, I definitely have some response there for you, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I agree with a lot of what you said, and I think that I mean, really the labor Seans I think are kind of distinguishing themselves, and I think that Sean Fain is really proving to be much more kind of politically coherent leader when it comes to these issues, and the most recent thing, some people have a problem with the Biden endorsement, but I still think that even given that, and even if you consider that a detriment, I think that Fain has just been a better educator on these issues, but the issue is that both of them have built the have kind of built the clout for them to be able to make this argument, right? By leading these two, very successful contract campaigns that saw gains for, hundreds of thousands of workers across the country, right? These two people are uniquely capable of speaking to working people and educating them about, the issues that affect them and how they can make change. And I think Sean Fain has just done a really great job. He has veered into politics, and I think that by and large, everything that he's saying factually is true. And so the conclusion that you draw maybe is different, but he's saying true things. But then in addition to that, he's not emphasizing the politics, right? He's emphasizing and he's constantly reminding people that you're going to make your life better by organizing on the shop floor and through your union. Right, you're not gonna, by and large, you're not gonna, you're not gonna get a savior at the ballot box, right? And so we need to build our power, and that's been his emphasis. He's really doing kind of the Chomsky political thing, right? Chomsky says, look, whatever, it's once every 4 years you vote for a Democrat, and then you go and do other stuff. I mean, that's what Sean Fain is doing. And he's really, I think he's educating a lot of people while he's doing it. And it does seem to me that Sean O'Brien is kind of abdicating some amount of ability to lead there. Adam?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of touch on that because I do think that these conversations about an independent labor party are important. We've had some efforts before. We've covered some of those efforts on the show, actually. If you want to go back to our archives and check that out, Mark Dudzik was involved in the Labor Party in the 90s. Chris Townsend, we speak to on a regular basis. In fact, Chris just posted something yesterday that is totally relevant to this conversation. I'm just going to borrow from this. He said labor's political action is as failed as ever. Low-octane labor leaders soaking up Biden's delusional pronouncements and getting a photo op for unlimited funding of the Dems. Trump systematically moving among the conservative and opportunist union bigs looking to make deals. Nobody wants to talk about the sad fact that Trump polls incredibly high among many union members, sometimes majority support. Do the union leaders confront this head on by running mass campaigns of trade union and political education among the union membership? Of course not. If these facts bother you, please don't spend too much time looking at the unorganized 90% of the workforce. Hold your union leaders to account. Confront them, expose their inaction, support their opponents who do want to do something about this. Run against them yourself. We are careening into a calamity. Remember that they make huge salaries with lush benefits and too good to be true retirement benefits. You don't have any of that. Your behind is on the line here, not theirs. And so, Chris has some harsh words, obviously, there. I think he's speaking to something our caller just mentioned, which is you go to the shop floor and you're going to run into Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. That's a dynamic we have to deal with. It's a problem we have to deal with because, as our caller pointed out, as all of us have pointed out today, objectively, Trump is worse for working people. He is a bad choice for working people, right? He has nothing positive to offer working people. That's just reality. We have to educate folks on that. And the fact that there are workers who are following Trump is an indictment on us and our failure to organize working people. And I believe we have to build a working class mass movement, the scale of which we haven't seen since really the 1930s. but not in a way that is totally. We have to have independent political power, right? If we strategically are voting for Joe Biden in swing states in 2024 because it keeps Trump out of office, so be it. That would be my idea. If I lived in a swing state, I would certainly do that. I don't, and therefore I'm free to vote my conscience and know that my vote will matter for diddly squat. However, I think having the independent political power, having a movement that is strong enough to influence politicians of both parties, and to extract concessions from politicians, right? It's easy to romanticize the New Deal Democrats of the 30s, but, we didn't get the New Deal because FDR was a nice guy and just thought a lot of us, right? We had power. We had mass movement, people power that was able to win for working people. That's what we need. And I do think having, that independent political power is important. There were a lot of third-party efforts in the 30s, even during this period of, dominance with the New Deal Democrats. There's always a need for radicals to push the movement. We wouldn't have had a successful movement in the 1930s if it wasn't for radicals, right? And a lot of times we see in our movement, the establishment is pushing radicals out of the movement. And so, there's a lot more we could get into there. I know we've got some other callers on the line, so I want to get them on the air as well.
Am I still on the line?
You are still on the line. I didn't
Great.
cut you off in case you wanted to have a response.
Yeah, just one last comment, then I want to let some others speak. But going back to the fact that a lot of people have been taken in by Trump, I think that's a failure on us. It's also, I think, an indication that people more and more are not really buying the line that Democrats are pro-labor or that Democrats are better, and that increasingly this idea that we just need to vote for the less evil candidate is not really holding sway over people. And so to some degree, I think Sean Fain and Sean O'Brien are kind of tailing that a little bit. They're playing this game because they know they can, because they know that there is that mass discontent. And I do think that they could go further and people would rise up in support. But if you don't really try to push the envelope, then you're not going to be able to figure out what forces are going to stand up behind the line that you're putting forward. So those are my thoughts. I also want to mention, I think I forgot to mention at the beginning of my call that I'm also a member of Teamsters Mobilized. Really glad to be working with the folks in that group, and encourage other Teamsters to reach out if they want to get involved.
Thanks for the call, Kat.
Really appreciate it. Stay involved. Keep pushing. That's how we're going to make a difference, is we need people everywhere organizing inside our unions, inside all of these institutions, just in the community. We've got to be pushing for positive change because, the status quo just ain't working. Yeah. That's where I enjoyed the conversation with Rick Smith, but there again, I get the same kind of whiplash that I got at the AFL conference a couple weeks ago. It's like all this, but then we're just going to defend Joe Biden. So I don't want to go down that road any further, but I just do think that there's a lot we can do to build independent political power and to organize working people. And I agree with Kat that the lesser evil, that is resonating less and less with people. I objectively do think that, Biden is the lesser evil. If for no other reason than the National Labor Relations Board, we have a fighting chance with them now, which we didn't before. Mm-hmm. I think that alone, if I were in Florida or Georgia, I would vote for Biden for that reason. I'd hold my nose and do that. I live in Alabama. I'm not going to vote for him because I can't co-sign genocide and neoliberal imperialism. I can't co-sign that just to do it, right? And because in Alabama, my vote would be just to do it. It would not count. It would not make an impact on the election. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. There needs to be a recognition inside the labor movement that we have left-wing people. Yes, we have people who are falling for Trump, and we've got to deal with that. we have an entire left, right, who is unhappy with Joe Biden for a lot of other reasons, not because of what we heard on Fox, right, but because we have our own analysis and we see where the Biden administration is falling short for working people and could be better, and we need our unions to be forcing more pressure on them and not just be seen as like an auxiliary of them. So anyway, I'll let the next caller get on the line. Sorry.
Appreciate the call, Kat.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
We got a caller from a 317 area code. 317 area code. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hey y'all, this is Will, calling from Texas. I'm a Teamster down here in Texas. I wanna first address. There's a lot of talk, and a lot of my brothers across the country are currently, brothers and sisters are currently pulling out of Drive, and I think it's entirely warranted and fair that they are pulling out of Drive. I just want to urge people, if you're going to pull out of Drive, I'm going to say I understand where you're coming from, but please don't let that money go to waste. Donate to other labor causes, donate to labor notes, throw you guys some money, donate some money to, Teamsters Mobilize. There's a bunch of great places where you can take that Drive money and put it to work in other places. Next thing I'd like to say is, I know that you don't want to go down the rabbit hole about Biden, but I'm sorry, I got to take you down it.
That's fine, brother.
Down here in Texas, we got a lot of brothers and sisters that support Trump, and it's because they can tell that the Democrats are charlatans. Okay, it's just obvious. Now they should also be able to tell that the fake populism of the Republicans, is a thing too. But I guess that's a different conversation. But the Democrats, they're seen as fakers. They talk working class politics, but they don't do anything. Joe Biden wears a UAW hat on a picket line, but crushes the rail strike, and that just doesn't pass the smell test. We're not stupid. And I think as far as Sean O'Brien goes, if you want to talk about pragmatism, now I'm somebody who supports what you guys are talking about: independent, militant, union, working class power, right? A labor party, a genuine labor party that can take on the Democrats and the Republicans. But if you want to talk pragmatism and you want to talk in the meantime, our unions should not be talking to anybody who doesn't support the PRO Act, who doesn't support overturning right to work, who doesn't support overturning Taft-Hartley. If you don't support those things, don't come to us for money. Don't come to us for volunteers. I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear the AFL-CIO or my union or anybody pushing lackluster Democrats that just give us lip service and then get in there and do nothing for us. I mean, you need to come with the fire if you want us to support you, and that should be the standard right there. That should be the standard. That's what I called in to say.
Yeah, brother. I really appreciate that, and I totally agree. I think we have to have higher standards. Just not being Trump, just not being Republican, should not warrant you millions of dollars in donations. I'm sorry. Right. There's a lot. And like you said, in terms of the PAC contributions, I used to tell, the educators that I organized and represented all the time, like, you don't have to contribute to this PAC, because guess what? I don't, because I did not want my money going towards neoliberal Democrats and reactionary Republicans. And, that's who was going to get the support, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of other areas in which I think we could see investment that would pay off in terms of dealing with these problems from a longer view. We mentioned it with Rick. There's so much propaganda is pumped out from the liberal press and then from the right-wing press. So much propaganda that is not in our best interest. And, that's where, I want to see our unions have higher standards to get to offer support, offer endorsements, and say, you know what, maybe this cycle, we take a lot of that money that we would just piss away on donations, and we invest that in new organizing. We invest that in labor media, right? And getting our message out. Why don't we run our own ads about the PRO Act in every swing state in the country, right? I mean, there's just a lot more that could be done than just the same old status quo, because we've been doing that.
Yeah.
And it ain't working. So, appreciate the call, brother.
Thanks for the call,
Hey,
Will.
one last.
Oops, sorry. I did not mean to do that, Will. My bad.
Send us a message.
Definitely
on
do.
YouTube. Send us something in the YouTube chat.
Definitely.
530 area code is the next in the queue. 530. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, my name is Barry Anderson out of Northern California. How you guys doing this morning?
Barry
Good.
from
Appreciate
California.
you.
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, man. I'm a fellow Teamster. And I just think overall, rather you be Teamsters, UAW, ILW, and the various other unions across the country, it's about that time to break away from these two parties and to really mobilize and to organize an independent labor party, strictly for labor. When I say strictly for labor, I mean union labor and non-union labor. These labor leaders, for some reason, they think that their actual local or just their one organization is going to be able to battle the two-power dictatorship or the two-party dictatorship, and they think they're going to come in there and try to reason and fight them some type of way. It's going to take more than that. The labor movement has to be gathered together, union labor, non-union labor, and to establish a force and a movement and a power that would definitely demand respect. Right now, we understand that 2024 is a new year. The election is going to be later on this year in November. And a lot of people, they're not quite sure which direction they're going to go. It looks like Donald Trump is a little bit more appealing to most people who will be next to get in office. To be honest with you, my comrades, it's about time for us to leave these two parties alone and to organize and to mobilize and to get ready for a new labor faction. Because what we've been getting is not enough. It's not doing us a damn thing.
Appreciate the call.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Appreciate you.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.